I'm Larry Menti. Welcome back to the Delaware Way. We continue our conversation now with Representative Joe Miro from Newcastle County, a Republican. And we've been talking about the budget and specifically the governor's proposal to try to save $12.5 million by eliminating or at least reducing a tax credit for seniors that they currently enjoy on their school tax. What is the problem, and you're against that, we should point out, and I think people who've watched the first segment have figured that part out. What would be the problem with the means test? Why would someone, for instance, like Pete DuPont, get this tax break? He's well off. He doesn't need that kind of money. And people making, what is the figure that's being bandied about now, over $200,000 a year as a senior, why would they get this tax break?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I think it's an important question. There aren't that many Pete DuPonts in the state of Delaware left. A lot of the wealthy people have moved to Florida and some other states, but we do not have the means test for the SEEDS program, where the students that graduate from a private or a public high school have the ability to go to a technical school or to a university, a state university, and receive the tuition for free for at least 2 years. And there is no means test on that. There's no means test for some of the other benefits that we provide to the residents of the state. So my position is, why do we want to impose a means test on one particular segment of our population, when in fact they are the ones that probably need the most the credit? The $500 for someone that is on a fixed income, that has a lot of bills coming in because of their health, because of whatever else they may be suffering from. They may be drawing money from their 401k, they may be have a reverse mortgage. They have done a lot of other things in order to survive the later years of their life. If
you need money, is a means test for all state programs not a bad idea? If people don't need these services that you're providing them or don't need these tax breaks, wouldn't a means test across the board be a good idea?
Well, that's the two questions that you have there. If we need money, and I think that there are things that we can look at in the budget where that money that, quote, is needed can be obtained. And I think that the transfer of money from the Transportation Trust Fund to the operating budget, $40 million. Right there you have an opportunity to balance the budget without reducing service. We have received $36 million from a settlement on a banking from the banks that could be used, or at least a portion of that could be used. We're going to get $25 million from another settlement from Washington. That monies that could be used to balance the budget without initiating new programs. That will be a one-time with limited money, because once that money is used, it goes away. It's a one-time money that we're going to receive over a period of 4 years.
What about the 10%? What about the 10-cent gas tax?
Again, the 10% tax, 10% tax on the gasoline. If we were not bleeding the DelDOT revenues, we will not need, and we still believe that we do not need that 10 cents, because the monies that are being generated in the trust fund is sufficient to pay for the roads and sufficient to pay for the needs that we have.
How are your figures and the governor's figures so off? How does he say that he needs this money from seniors, that he needs a 10% gas tax, that he needs to transfer money from DelDOT just to balance the budget, and you're saying, and he must know what money's there? How do those figures not mesh?
Well, I think it's an issue of priorities. The priorities that have been brought into the governor's proposal are skewed in one direction, and what we're saying is that we can take a look at the same issue from a different perspective. And I just gave you the potential to balance the budget without an increase in taxes on the gasoline tax by simply not taking monies out of the Transportation Trust Fund and putting it into the operational fund. We are getting $36 million. We're getting $25 million on the settlement for the mortgage on those lawsuits. So that's a significant amount of money right there. That if we were to use that, not necessarily the entire amount, but a portion of that amount, to really maintain some of the programs that we have and not bring about new initiatives. That may be the...
So it's the initiative. I think we just got to the crux of it. When you say it's priorities, if you don't go through with some new initiatives in the state, if you don't build new programs in the state, you won't have to raise these taxes.
Correct.
The taxes are intrinsically connected to the new programs in the state.
Yeah,
so you're against the programs because we can't afford them.
And let me make sure that everyone understands the fact that some of the proposed new initiative that has been brought about, I agree with. For instance, putting money into the city of Wilmington to combat the crimes that we are facing. That's something that will be supported by both the Democrats and Republicans across the state, because Wilmington is the main city in the state, and that's the economic engine for the state of Delaware. So we cannot really be against anything that would happen or would take place in cleaning the city of Wilmington, if I may use that word.
Yeah,
loosely.
but you can do that without
and we
new
can
money.
use that, and we can use, in other words, we can use some of the monies that are coming in to accomplish some new initiatives, as well as to balance what we have.
Well, we'll all be watching, because it sounds
Please
like
do.
it's going to be an interesting battle. I'm not sure how it's going to fall out, because, as you said, the Republicans at this point don't have the power to fight some of these. So do you have any hope that some taxes aren't going to be raised, or some of these tax breaks are not going to go away?
Well, I don't think it's an issue just of Republicans. I think the Democrats are also not...
With the seniors, but they're not necessarily against raising taxes.
Think, well, for instance, the Democrats were not in favor of raising the 10 cents gasoline tax either last year. So I don't think the Democrats are, at least the elected officials, in the Capitol are willing to raise tax.
Right, because they have to run for re-election. So.
Thank
you, sir.
else.
It was great to
My
talk
pleasure.
to you.
My pleasure.
Representative Joe Miro from Newcastle County, who will be in the thick of the budget debate, and I hope you do come back after it's over so we can talk about how it turned out. And we're going to be returning in just a few seconds, and we'll be here with somebody else to talk about this very topic, someone who's been covering it now for a while, Jonathan Starkey from the Wilmington News Journal and DelawareOnline.com, as we continue our conversation on the budget fights in Delaware when the Delaware Way continues.